Segment 2, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Jewish Chicago, going to be out in right around the start of early voting. Make sure you pick it up. It's going to be available free at newsstands. All the website information and all the other stuff you will see down below. It is a pleasure to have somebody that we featured before the election who was one of the winners. Presently a commissioner, was appointed to the job by the governor and won her bid to be on the ballot again. And somebody who's definitely a favorite to be elected, Mariyana Spyropoulos. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me back on the show.
My pleasure. And how are you finding life at the water reclam?
It's great. I mean, it's pretty much the same as before the election. I was, like you indicated, I was appointed in August of 2009 by the governor, Governor Quinn. I like to point that out.
Yeah, not the other one.
Yeah,
that's
important. And, you know, we're continuing to face the stormwater management ordinance, trying to pass policy within the district that's environmentally friendly, and looking at contracts and trying to be as transparent as possible and as fiscally responsible as we can.
That sounds good. Are you, so, that's right, you've been doing this a little over a year now. There's no real, I hate to say it, but there really isn't much of much opposition going on.
Well, you never want to take anything for granted. There will be 2 Republicans and 3 Green Party candidates, as well as the 3 Democrats, and this is a race where you pick three people. The top 3 vote getters will win. And as you said, you know, Cook County has traditionally been Democratic, but in these days and times, you really don't want to rest on your laurels.
No, definitely not, because there definitely is Republicans are getting noticed in places you never think a Republican would have a chance to win this time around.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
So what do you see as issues right now? Or what do you see? Well, first of all, the Water Rec is doing a lot of good things, that's for sure. It's doing a lot of right things, which I know is unusual to talk about a government agency doing that, but it is true. I know that money got rebated again this year to the taxpayers.
Yes, $11 million. Well, you know, we do have 2 primary missions, and that's to treat wastewater and manage stormwater. So we treat our wastewater through 7 filtration plants throughout Cook County. The largest one is the Stickney plant. And your viewers, if they have community organizations, are welcome to take a tour of the plant. That particular plant, the Stickney plant, is available for tours. And individuals can't go. It has to be a group organization. And we also manage stormwater, and we do that through the Deep Tunnel Project. That's about 109 miles of intersecting tunnels and some reservoirs, and we have a stormwater management ordinance that we're looking at, and that is for the surrounding areas. There have been recent issues regarding flooding. However, if this deep tunnel project were not there, the impact on the community would be devastating. So this certainly is alleviating a lot of flooding. However, there's some factors that people need to look at. And the reason why I'm elaborating on this issue is I know that there have been town hall meetings and a lot of discussions about the flooding issue. And the factor of an increased population, increased development, and the increased development has resulted in more concrete. Concrete is not a permeable surface, so you don't have water absorbing into the ground. It's going into the sewer system. You also have aging systems in various communities that the pipes and the system can't hold the overflow. And most importantly, you have global warming, and global warming has increased the intensity of storms. I mean, I'm sure you know, your viewers can remember a time when, you know, obviously it's raining, but the intensity of the storm has actually increased a lot in the last 10 years, and it's not going to stop. It's going to increase. The
measurable amounts of rainfall this year have been one of the highest in recorded history.
Right.
And I know early on, between the heat and the excess rain, I had a beautiful tomato crop before I left town for a week and a half, and it got dry on me.
Oh, well, those are the type of hardy plants that you bring back. But hopefully we won't have the type of storms that we did have at least a couple months ago, because those were pretty intense, and a lot of people, you know, their property was damaged. So.
Well, I know that Terry O'Brien used to call it, you know, like 100. He used to say we're getting these 100-year rains every year. Yes. And now we're getting them 2, 3, 4 times a year.
Right.
I mean,
right.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I do happen to look on a daily basis because I got my 160 square feet out back at the measurable rainfall on a daily basis. And we've had at least 4 rains this year that are at least 3 1/4 inches. And people need to realize, number one, that 3¼ inches is the equivalent of 32½ inches of snow. I mean, if it came down in winter, that's devastating. And the deep tunnel and 1 inch of rain in Chicago, see, I've been interviewing guys a long time, is actually the equivalent of 15 billion gallons of water.
You're right.
Which is a lot.
You know a lot about the district, that's right. But, you know...
oh, and by the way, also, you know, Terry would always talk about, Terry O'Brien, the president,
right.
will talk about 68 kinds of fish, you know, in the waterways, and now you can add an alligator.
Yes, we had a couple of alligator sightings, that's true. But they did catch the latest one, and I think they're going to take it down to Florida and release it into, you know, a habitat that's a little more hospitable for alligators. But, you know, the issue with flooding, a lot of people just want some kind of magic bullet or something that's going to take care of, you know, that kind of thing. And it's really a lot of different components. And some things that they can look at on their property. I know there's some communities that will give credit to people who incorporate green technology on their property to alleviate, you know, their contribution to the flooding issue. And I've heard some communities will give credits up to $1,000. But you know, not all communities can handle that kind of thing, understandably, but there are things that people can do on their property if instead of adding more concrete, if they could add gravel, if they could add, if they could have pavers so that the water will seep between the various bricks. These things can help. You know, they're a small step towards helping alleviate flooding.
It would make a big difference because, yeah, you're right, concrete doesn't absorb it all.
Right.
It is a problem.
Right, and so you're overloading the system. Like I said, you've got more concrete, you have increased rain, and, you know, it really has hurt a lot of people.
No question about it. So, doing a lot of campaigning?
A little bit. You know, the summer is, people get a little bit fatigued after the primary. They want to rest a little, but we're gearing up. You know, we're sort of going here and there to various events, but certainly in the next few weeks we're gearing up for, you know, the last tour before November.
Sounds good. If people want to contact, do you have a website?
Yes, I do. Same website as before, www.mariyana4cleanwater.com, and it's the number 4. Right,
and so good luck in the, well, the election's already in progress. Well, actually, at this point, this is going to air basically mid to late September.
Right. So
early voting is starting October 11th this year.
Right.
So it's not too, it is the time right now to be paying serious attention to what's going on.
Absolutely. Are we almost finished?
Yeah, this is, so talk about what you want to talk about. Yeah.
What I was just going to ask you about, you know, the Asian carp issue is something that we're also looking at.
Do it.
And a lot of people have seen that in the media, and there was a lawsuit by the state of Michigan against Illinois and the Water Reclamation District trying to force us to close the locks. And there was also discussion about trying to block the waterways from Lake Michigan so that these invasive species won't work their way up into Lake Michigan. However, there is some ramifications to that, in that will affect flooding as well. If we don't have those locks to be able to open and release some of the pressure on the system, then that is going to result in increased flooding as well. So there's, you know, all these things need to be looked at by several different government agencies to see how we can alleviate that.
Yeah, and we certainly don't want the Asian carp to be the 69th species in the waterways.
No. Actually, they don't taste that bad, though. I have had them at some environmental festival, and they're not bad.
I've been reading articles that, yeah, go ahead.
No,
please.
The Chinese government actually is going to take a lot of them from the state of Illinois.
I've been reading they actually treat it as, they're trying to sell it as a delicacy there.
Yes.
And actually beforehand where the carp was going was actually to Israel for gefilte fish.
Well, I was just going to say gefilte fish here. I mean, I've seen, you know, if you look at the label, you've got carp on there. So I don't know.
But it's not always Asian carp.
It's not Asian
carp.
Okay.
Well, it depends. It can be, I mean, first of all, there's regular carp too.
Mm-hmm.
But the Asian carp were being sold to Israel, but Israel put new tariffs on importing fish.
Okay.
So that at one time there was an unusually large amount that was going to Israel. But Israel put a new tariff on fish going in because I guess they have fish around there too.
Well, I mean, I think it's a great idea to have a commercial fisherman fish these fish, alleviate the population so there's not that, you know, incredible amount of product in there, and instead of poisoning the waterway. I think it's a better idea.
Yeah,
You're also feeding
those
people.
Fish kills are ridiculous.
Right.
I mean, I shouldn't say they're totally ridiculous. You do need to check to a certain extent, but yeah,
right.
It's better if you don't have to kill a bunch of fish.
Right, absolutely, and put poisons in the waterway. So.
For sure. Anyway, Mariyana Spyropoulos, Mariyana 4, the number 4, cleanwater.com. Good luck in the election, which
Thank
is
you.
almost in progress.
Thank you, Avi. It's a pleasure.